Hey everyone, welcome back to the Visually Stunning Movie Podcast. I'm Mark. That's Ryan. That's Ryan over there. How you doing,
Hey,
Ryan?
bud. I've survived.
Well, that's good. We just finished 3 days of FanX Salt Lake.
Yes,
100,000 of our bestest, and closest friends.
yes.
You were pulling double duty.
I was working both. I was working and working.
Yes. You work for the people for Leap, I believe, or Grotex.
Yes. Leap Entertainment, Epic was what they used to be called. But yeah, I'm over in the photo booth area for most of the day. Fortunately, I had an opportunity to step out and do a couple panels. One
I,
with Danny Elfman.
I was gonna say I know that was the one you really, 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 really wanted. What was the other one though?
Hocus Pocus. So I
Hocus Pocus
had
with Doug Jones.
Doug Jones, Vanessa Shaw, and Omari Katz. So it's basically, if those of you familiar with the film, it
Yeah.
is the teenage boy who has moved to Salem from Los Angeles, and the female that at the very beginning of the film tells him he's an idiot. Anyway,
And
no,
and if you wonder why Hocus Pocus is a big deal here, for some reason, Utah loves Hocus Pocus.
oh, absolutely. They adore Hocus Pocus. But yeah,
They are nuts
so
for it.
essentially it's it's weird because everyone thinks of Hocus Pocus and they think of the witches, obviously, but the Vanessa and Omariel both play the actual leads of the film along with Thora Birch.
Right?
Because it is a children's film and the kids are the center of it.
Wouldn't Thora Birch be a great guest?
Thora Birch would be an awesome guest. Um, yeah, I agree.
That would be an awesome. Okay, so you did the Hocus Pocus panel, but again, the big one you wanted was Danny
The
Elfman.
big one was Danny Elfman.
How hard on a scale of 1 to 10? How hard you geek?
Uh, I mean, it's funny because I actually talked about people throughout leading up to and particularly afterwards. The only way that I can get through some of these things is to not really think about the geek factor
Until later,
until later.
right?
So, and there's another, there's also this. And unfortunately, we anyone who's ever most people who have moderated at cons know that there's always the chance that the individual will not want a moderator.
Turns out you are correct.
So it's happened to me in the past. It may have happened to you this weekend. So there's also that part that doesn't want to get too amped up,
Right.
just in case it doesn't happen. And so no, I mean it was actually an incredible experience. We, I've been an Oingo Boingo slash Danny Elfman fan since the late '80s. Oingo Boingo had a devout and still has, quite obviously, based on the packed ballroom, has a devout fan base
Right.
here in Salt Lake. So much so that when they broke up, they did shows in Los Angeles and Salt Lake City, and that was it. Their farewell tour was one show in Salt Lake, and I believe like three shows in LA.
That is
Uh,
insane.
ironically, the Salt Palace Convention Center used to be the location of the Salt Palace, which was where the basketball team played, and also where I first saw Oingo Boingos. So there were a lot of things that came full circle, but um, it's funny. I don't want to say full circle because there's still more to play out. He he was quite honestly overwhelmed by the support. Um, he came out and he said, oh, I was expecting a fraction of this, and he honestly was. There are some people who will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe all of these people are here for me. But but with him, it was very much he was very surprised. At the reception, the
Right.
size of it, I mean, um, it was a good conversation. He has lots of stories, and he's a good storyteller. And he apologized for talking, but so much. But that's exactly, I think, what people wanted.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
so he between the audience and him, the question, we actually had some really good questions. So between them, I only had to do a little bit. And I did steer a little bit because there were things obviously that I wanted to know, but there were a few things that came, and there were requests too. I
Really?
would, yeah. So prior to it, certain individuals that really wanted me to ask something, so I tried to work that in and was able to do so. Although I don't think they got the answer they wanted, but that's okay.
Aw.
Anyway, but I think, and hopefully, I think they recorded it, so hopefully it'll get up online and people will get to see this just, he's a, like I said, a great storyteller. But the part that no one will see, and the part that I will always remember is before coming out, they kind of play a real kind of
Yep.
a greatest hits clip to get the audience excited or
The
whatnot.
sizzle reel.
The sizzle, yeah. And he and I were standing there in the behind the stage watching it, and there was this sense that kind of I don't, an energy suddenly changed, where I felt him watching it was almost like, oh my gosh, I really have done a lot of stuff, or I've done a lot of things that I am proud of. And it wasn't like an arrogant moment or anything like that. It was a very like, oh, I guess, I have had a pretty
Pretty
wonderful
good
career.
career.
You know what I mean? It was,
Yeah.
it was just kind of that moment with him, and I looked at him, and he kind of, had that gloss over of, oh my gosh, okay, which was then followed out with him walking out and having, I don't know how many thousands people,
Five
but
thousand people, I think, is what
five
we
thousand,
call
yeah.
them, the big ballroom.
So 5,000 people screaming, and he. So I think those two moments tied together, he was just really um, taken back, and at the end, he didn't really want to leave the stage.
Mm.
And it wasn't, again, it was more out of an almost, oh my gosh, feeling, because he hasn't been back to Salt Lake in quite some time, and he's done shows in LA and London. He did a Coachella show. He's either has done or will be doing something in Phoenix this year. And I think there was a sense of, he hadn't really been part of Utah culture for 25, 30 years. Yeah, about 30 years at this point. And so I don't know that he was expecting that relationship to still exist.
Right.
But in many ways, what has happened is a lot of those teenagers who were obsessed with the Oingo Boingo now have kids who are obsessed with the Oingo Boingo, or kids have discovered Tim Burton.
Yeah.
Obviously, Wednesday has had kind of it's a touchstone.
Right.
And so I think you're finding that, I mean, Danny Elfman's work, even if you don't know what his name is,
Right.
because he's, um, you do know Oingo Boingo songs, you just may not realize it, or you have seen any number of films that he's scored. And actually, you might the one he's doing currently, and the one that almost kept him from appearing, is he's got the new Sam Raimi film that he has scored.
Ooh,
Um, and
I'm excited.
he was supposed to go to Australia,
Oh,
uh, but apparently Sam Raimi couldn't get down there, and so there was no need for
for him to go.
Danny to go. And
That's
so
awesome.
he was able to come and do this, and they were working on whatever score aspects, like remotely
D-
or whatnot.
does he do a lot of convention type appearances, or
No, not
see?
really.
And
No.
so I wonder if part of that was just he had no idea, just that kind of general. Forget the Utah connection.
Well, I think the shock also comes from the fact that he wasn't bringing out his guitar. He wasn't playing a concert. He's done
Right.
concerts. I mean, he sells out the Hollywood Bowl every year,
Right.
which is obviously larger than the ballroom. But
Yeah.
I do think there was the, like, well, but people were coming out because I did these things with Tim Burton, or people were coming out because they liked, this film, or whatever the reasons may be.
Mhm.
So I think that there was a genuine, you know, I'm just the wizard behind the
Right.
curtain.
Yeah.
Why are you showing up for the wizard behind the curtain when you want the great and powerful Oz.
So I guess we can count on him coming back in the future.
He will. He promised to play a concert next year.
Nice.
We don't know. He did. There wasn't the exact specifics, but
Yeah.
he basically said he will be back here next year and he will be doing a show in Salt Lake City.
Nice.
So yes, and I was going to press him on that, and I never had to.
Uh,
So I mean, you go. That's another thing about moderating. You go in with a handful of ideas, and quite often none of those ideas actually materialize because, in this case, he addressed it long before I ever had to kind of chide him about not coming back.
yeah.
Or just it doesn't fit into the flow of where things are going. And
Yep.
and in this case, I think his best story was about how he walked away from scoring Batman,
Oh,
because Warner Brothers was insisting that he do it with Prince, as a collaborative thing. And he basically said, Prince is one of the top 10 performers of my generation, but the score, he doesn't fit into my ideas of what the score should be.
right.
And I think anyone who, Prince obviously did do some recording. He recorded some songs that ended up kind of being I don't remember if it's end credits or if it's in the middle of the film or whatnot,
Yeah.
but Bat Dance, it was at least part of the promotional thing. But he walked away and they were going to have Prince do it. And he doesn't exactly know what happened, but a month later they called him back and said, "Let's go and let's have you do it."
Mm,
So he went from, that's the end of my career, to arguably not arguably, it was the biggest film that he had done at that point. It was
yeah.
Burton's biggest film that he had done at that point. In fact, it might have been the biggest film that came out in that year of '89. Yeah, it was a great conversation. We talked about a little bit of everything, all over the map. I even got him to talk about the Gong Show,
Mm,
because they appeared on the Gong Show and expected to lose, and had actually a pretty hilarious plan set up for when they did lose.
mm,
That included a fire extinguisher that was going to go off on the judges,
mm.
but then they won, and so their greatest trick
Never happened.
never happened. So,
That's
um,
awesome.
yeah, it was a really, a good conversation, and he very personable. And man, the guy's had a career. We talked obviously Boingo. We talked movies. We talked about, he has done the Universal Horror, the theme park. He has scored that. Someone asked him about that, and he talked about that,
Yeah.
and that's also what's cool, because sometimes you get people asking questions that are not that interesting to the general public. They may be very interesting to the individual, but maybe not necessarily to the crowd. And I
Right.
don't feel like we had any questions
Like
um,
that.
that were like that. I think everything was really, they did a great job. The fandom here really came out and they asked great questions, that I was able to piggyback off a couple. But in general, they asked some phenomenal questions. And I think we probably could have gone for another hour, between the audience, me, and I think Danny would have been happy to talk for
Yeah.
another hour.
Those are the best, but whether they're in the ballroom or the little tiny
No,
rooms.
it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as. But I mean, this was a special one, and I've done a few ballrooms before, um, and generally the ballroom things have actually been really successful because of the energy of the crowd and the intelligence of the crowd and the fandom of the crowd and whatnot.
Yep.
Um, this one though was special in the way that Danny obviously felt, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like I think the audio, you may have seen a better ballroom panel at some point, but I don't ever remember there being one where I was as taken back by the genuine reaction of the person being tributed, or
That. Yeah.
panel. Anyway,
Featured.
so it was awesome. It really was awesome. So hopefully they get it up online, and I was happy to not be too much of an idiot
Yeah.
and
Well,
not step
I didn't
over
get
it.
a chance to be an idiot in the ballroom.
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
got nerfed by John Rhys-Davies.
And I was worried that was going to happen because John, I've had the pleasure of being around John numerous times this year.
Mm.
He's told me many stories that shall not be repeated.
Uh,
Not necessarily that he was actually a part of, but for some reason, John always wants to tell a story, and sometimes there. Did you ever hear of this? And it was no.
right.
I don't. Anyway, John is great, but John takes over a room.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's funny is so I was back there and then they sent me out front. And if you check
yeah,
one of the local TV stations, you'll see my picture at the head of the article because I was sitting in the front row and their reporter was taking photos.
yeah,
Um, but what's funny is that I told our mutual friend Craig
yeah.
Price out at
Who I
Matinee
ran in,
Heroes.
I ran into him, which was happy to spread. Anyway,
Yep. And well, he was going to do the sliders panel to close the show.
oh, did that happen there too?
He got so he goes, yeah, it happens sometimes, and then he got nerfed on the sliders panel.
Yeah, I thought
Like
that one
symmetry,
might.
baby.
Yeah. Oh.
So no, but it was a great panel. John's great.
John is an incredible entertainer. He's one of the warmest, most giving people you'll ever meet. He he remembers people from you know that he met last year or 2 years
Right.
ago or three. I mean, he's the sort of person that um, he's a really warm individual. But yes, he takes over a room and he. Yeah, my first thought was when I saw the sliders panel was that John was going to have what's his face? It was
Jerry O'Connell.
yeah, Jerry for lunch. 'Cause this
Oh,
was Jerry's first I guess his first convention really. I guess he's been to some stuff with his wife, some Star Trek stuff
they
with
said
his
it was
wife.
his first solo convention.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
but my thought was yes, John is going to eat this young man alive.
Well, what's funny is that so FanX gets a lot of that first timers.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you remember. I mean, remember the first time Zachary Levi came,
Oh yeah.
he was slated for Friday only, and then about what 9:30 Friday night,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
announcement went out. He's coming back the next day,
Yes.
not because they talked him into it, because he called
No,
and
because
said,
you
"Would
won't.
it be
Yeah.
okay if?"
Yes.
And it's like, "No, Zachary, you can't come back." But, but then
Well, and then
but
he's not stopped coming back.
right, and then the guys from Psych,
Yes. We
after
have a
that they'd
massive.
never done any cons,
Yes.
and I was not a Psych watcher, but I knew how much people wanted to see him, and I
Oh
walked by their
yes.
table. Their tables were right next to each other, and I could just look at them. They had no idea what they had signed up for.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
in a good way, but
Yeah.
they were deer in headlights, shell shock, pick your surprise cliche there. But yeah, it's great when we get guests that really kind of appreciate what they're getting. Like I said, yeah, I didn't get
Well.
to do the Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
which was, like I said, a great panel though. But I was like, oh, because I mean, I was nervous as all get out, but I was as ready as I was going to be, because you knew the crowd was going to be there to just ask endless
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Dragon Ball Z panel,
Mm.
I did Sean Schemmell and Damian Clark. And I told Damien behind the curtain before we started, I said, I have to give you full disclosure. I've never watched Dragon Ball. And he goes, none of it? I'm like, none. He goes, it doesn't matter. He goes, I said, but the fans will bail me out. He goes, yeah, they will.
Yeah.
So, but Sean Schemmell showed up late because whoever was driving him in the cart got lost
Mm.
in the back tunnels
Yeah.
of the Salt
Yeah.
Palace.
Yeah.
And then Damien left a half an hour in because he had done the panel immediately prior and had not left. And so he's like, I haven't even peed yet.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so we finished with just Sean Schemmell. So that was interesting. And then, I got to sit on two fan panels. I know you were working, so you didn't get to. Said we did the Monty Python and the Holy Grail panel. I talked to Rachel about that a little bit ago today for hers. And then the A24 panel.
Yeah.
with Scott and Sean and Noelle, lovely young lady, which was also interesting. And in both of those panels, really great and involved questions from the audience and comments from the audience. It's like, wow, it's not just a bunch of Monty Python fans throwing quotes at us, and
Sure.
people asking really good A24 questions. Those were really good panels as well. That was fun. Obviously, you were working the photo op area. I had a lot of people complaining about photo ops. They're like, "Why is Epic back?"
Well, sure.
And
I mean,
this is a this week in baseball for everyone that's listening. But Epic had a meltdown a few years ago, an equipment meltdown, like literally a few years ago, and everyone we moved to a different company, and now Epic is back, and everyone is holding that against them.
well,
I didn't do any photo ops,
that's
so
not
I actually
entirely.
have no idea if their complaints
There
are
is
valid.
so Epic is working with celebrity photo ops and stuff as well too. So it's not there's been, and I wasn't with the company when the meltdown happened and
Right,
whatnot. So I can't speak to that, but there I can speak to, there are a lot of changes that in evolution, and there are a lot of best practices that are being brought over and combined, and a lot of things that are going on right now,
right.
stuff that I probably don't even know about, and which is, but um, uh, I don't want to go too much into it. But we had a new layout
Mm-hmm.
for flow that at this show that I think most of us had not used, and I'm actually a big fan of it. It still has a couple things that maybe need to be worked out, but in general, um, I would say, not that I'm an expert of how all these things go, but the first day is always going to be rough.
Yep.
Um, and what people need to also understand is this is one of the top five biggest cons probably in the world as far as attendee and people going.
Yeah.
And cons in general rely on a lot of volunteers. That's not just this one. It's all of them
Yes.
rely on a lot of local talent, and sometimes local talent who volunteers are a little more ambitious than
Yeah.
they should be,
Very, very right.
or anyway. But so I can't speak to how people felt about that in general, but from what I saw, things went fairly well.
That's good.
So I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm not. I don't do photo ops when I go to cons.
Right.
Partially because I'm spoiled. I'm a spoiled brat,
Yep.
and I have got experiences like sitting down with Danny Elfman for 15 minutes, and so that's my photo op, I guess. If
Yeah.
so again, I've been spoiled, so I've interviewed a lot of people and that's kind of thing. But I don't. I mean, there's also, it also depends a lot on the talent. Some talent
Mhm.
wants to move people real quickly. Some want to be a little slower.
Yep.
Sometimes you will know this in advance and you'll be able to plan for that. Sometimes you will not know this in advance, and
Correct.
there is no way for um, the photo op company to completely prepare for everything.
No, they
So
can't.
I don't know that, having not enough experience having done photo ops myself, it would be, I couldn't really judge on that. But
Right.
I can tell you that everyone's trying to do their best, and wants everyone to have a great experience, not because it's a business necessarily. I think a lot of people do it because they love fandom,
Yep.
and they're fans themselves, and um, you know, uh, nobody's perfect, but yeah, I did see some negative stuff about a lot of things, and it's funny because when you're dealing with 100,000 people, there's always the unknown.
Right.
So there's just certain things that the convention can't plan for. I know everyone's always upset about ADA.
Yep. That's a big
Um,
one.
It's always, um, and I can tell you that people work hard to try to make that not an issue, but regardless of what happens, it inevitably is an issue.
Yeah,
So
the
it's
thing about
something.
ADA is that within reason and the law, obviously, uh, that those people, concerned about ADA normally have the most valid concerns and complaints. My heartburn and some of those ADA complaints are just whining, and I'll say it. But a lot of the time, it's like, what is this? This is not working, and it's like, you're right. Let's fix that.
Yeah,
Um,
well, and
but
but it also, what is that fix, and is it easy to know?
right,
And
um,
that's
yeah,
not, it's not
the
easy.
yeah, the complaints I hate are the VIP complaints. Um, I hate those with a burning passion because this is the first year in a long time I did not buy VIP because even I found it just a little too pricey this year.
Mm.
Um, that said, um, my I'll call them my chief complaint again, complaint about VIP is just expectation versus reality. What people think VIP means and
Yeah.
what it actually is in terms of an event when you buy that pass, any event.
Well, I
They,
think what's
I'm a
problematic.
VIP, so I get what
Yeah.
I want. Like, that's not what you bought.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of, if you're a person that goes to a lot of cons, you'll realize that VIP means a different thing at every different con.
Yes.
You know, there are, again, the size of FanX, and I don't know that people fully appreciate how much that impacts things.
I
You
mean,
know,
honestly, I mean, if the size FanX is, they should cap 10, they should sell 10,000 VIPs and that's it. That would be 10%.
yeah, and I have no idea how much they do, and but
I don't either.
I can tell you that, like, at other cons, they're able to do things because there's just not the same amount of people.
Yeah.
So we can give you more access because there's so few of you. And that may seem strange.
Relatively few of you, yes.
Yes. So, I mean, when you're dealing with, when your con is 10,000 people or 40,000 people even, and you're in a space that's, you know, a third of what FanX is, that's still less people per square footage. And
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that go into it, and I have a greater appreciation for it, having worked some other conventions.
Yeah, like I said,
And
I've gone to enough
yeah,
that I just think a lot of people need to temper their assumptions or their expectations or their ego, and that's the biggest thing, whether you're VIP or not. So my
and
only
that's
other
not just,
complaint,
that's not to say there's not going to be complaints and things that can be fixed. There always
yeah,
are, but just understand that sometimes no one knows what's broken
till it breaks.
until it's,
Yeah,
yeah, or until
and
they
it's like,
pick it
oh
up.
crap. Yeah. So and then yeah, and then communication is always important.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
volunteers, when you're working with such a large volunteer force,
yep.
training is very hard as well. I mean, you can give them an hour or two of training, and we all learn at different speeds as well.
Yeah.
There's so many factors that go into something of this size, um, and I'll admit I'm probably a little protective of this, having gone since day one, since the first one,
Yep.
whatever, 12 or 13 of them, or however, over the last 11
Well,
years or whatever.
it's been 12 years, 20,
Yeah. So however
2013,
many. Yeah.
and then a
So
couple extras in there. So it's probably what, 16 or so.
yeah, I don't know, but whatever it is, I've been to all of them, and kind of feel, I don't know what that I would say I feel a part of it, but I feel like, I don't know, when you're, you just, it feels
It's like rooting for your home sports
something
club.
like that. Yeah, I don't know, but whatever it is, I mean, I will acknowledge that I probably have a certain sense of bias to
Yeah,
be more supportive of it, simply because I really have always wanted it to succeed.
absolutely.
Anyway, I don't know. I mean, I didn't get a lot on the floor this year. Like I said, the Hocus Pocus panel too. Great questions, and not just about Hocus Pocus,
For
but
real.
they went, and it wasn't all I know Doug Jones' work. I love Doug Jones' work, but and so I there's also this kind of this fear of are we going to talk about anything other than him? And yes, there was so much more, and I was so appreciative of the fandom, and I start off by saying, look, when Hocus Pocus came out in like '93, that was me as a teenager, and at that point I was probably really into Asian cinema and what I liked about Korean horror films and things,
Right.
and Hocus Pocus wasn't exactly on my radar,
Yeah.
having since seen it and whatnot. I sort of understand and sort of appreciate. It's still not really my thing, but it was, obviously a lot of people love it and interact, and the Disney connection helps. We have a huge Disney following here.
Yes, we
Um,
do.
so so I could appreciate it, and loved a lot of the questions, actually. Loved people's, they gave me insight to things. So I my feeling is when people say that Salt Lake has great fans, they're not wrong. They're knowledgeable in a lot of cases, and we didn't get horrible questions, and everyone, like, again, it wasn't all about one person who was there. They had questions for everybody, and that was fun.
Yeah.
Time blew by. In fact, I mean, that's the thing. Danny could have gone another hour probably. For the Hocus Pocus people, they would have been happy to do another half hour. They too were surprised by the turnout. It wasn't the size of the room, but it was the fact that it was 100% full.
Yeah.
Um, so to me, it's bravo to the fans for coming out and showing some love to the things that they do love.
Yeah.
So for me, my experience was almost entirely positive, if
Yeah.
not, I mean, overwhelmingly.
Yeah. The small rooms, that's funny. I mean, like I said, the Dragon Ball panel was probably 90% full.
Hmm.
And even the Monty Python and A24 were probably 80, 90 plus percent. That's, what, 200, 250 seats in those rooms?
Yeah, yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, and
So,
and yeah. They turned out. People turned out, and that's the Salt Lake is massive compared to some of the other things I've done this year, and
right.
have grown to appreciate that. Um, Thursday was busy.
Thursday was
I mean,
crazy busy.
Thursday did not. Most cons have their first day slow, and they end what they usually start on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's like a half day on Friday, so it's not quite as busy. Saturday's usually really busy, and Sunday's kind of a wind down. Or they may have one or two big things on the day, but but this one, I, I don't know what the attendance numbers were all 3 days, but there wasn't a day that felt
No, there were
low.
no light days.
No, it felt pretty nonstop. Um, uh, you know, uh, which is, I don't know that it's been that way in the past, but it's not that way every year.
No,
So I joked that they could have stuck a Sunday on this year, and it probably would have been
just
as
as
busy
busy.
as, yeah.
Well,
So
not today.
no, no,
Some local bad
no.
news. We won't bore you with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that came out in the news today that has local ties. That's not great,
Right.
but no, but I don't know how you feel. I mean, my feel was just, and I can also tell you that we have a better variety of vendors, we have the same ones that are a lot of places, and then a whole lot more.
Yeah,
And
you
so
know,
I don't know.
I the vendors are everything runs in cycles
Yeah.
in the vendor world. I mean, the Funkos are always there.
Yes.
You know, flat art is always there. The wife and I now, when we walk around, we first thing we do is look at is it something different,
Yeah.
and then do I like what they're doing with that something?
Yeah.
But if it's just flat art, the first thing I do is look at the style, and if I don't even like the style, I'm not going to look at the subject. You know, but flat art is such a pain for me anymore because I don't have any room left. Yeah. But no, that I felt, I don't know how I felt about the vendors this year. In some ways, I felt like there was new stuff or a greater variety, and in some ways, I felt like that wasn't. I don't think it was a bad selection.
Yeah.
But I
it felt
kind of
better than
ambivalent
some
about
of.
this one.
Yeah, I mean, I've walked the floors of a handful this year, and maybe again, it's because it's bigger and there's more opportunity for local or different stuff to get in,
Right.
along with the stuff that's at every single one. But I felt like the mix here was a little better.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. But other than that, no, I thought entry was good. I thought the food was decent. They had food in 2 spots on the floor, plus food trucks outside.
Yeah.
Plus, ironically, Cousin Eddie's bar.
Yeah.
Cousin Eddie had to cancel.
Was that just a pop-up or what was that?
It was I guess last year it was Moe's Tavern.
Okay.
But it was in the front, right inside the Salt Shaker. And this year they moved it out behind that back entrance. But it was Cousin Eddie's bar and restaurant. You could get some snacks there. I actually had something called the Flamingo Fist Fight.
Okay.
There was some flamingos fist fighting in my mouth. That has some twang to it. But we went out there just to catch break. It's very small, little pop up. But yeah, that's all it was. It's a little pop up bar outside, which was kind of nice. Seating is always an issue at every convention. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Again, I'm of the fan that when I travel without my wife to do those things, if I ever need to sit down, I'll start walking past the panel rooms and see what's in there. I can sit through that and just sit in the back and take a load off, and kind of absorb what's going on. The panel variety, the fan panel variety in this was pretty good. I think there was a nice spread of subject matter, which was nice. So overall, I call it a success. Like I said, some people, the usual suspects and the usual topics on Facebook are there, but it's like, if they're legit, I will legit them, but I will answer them. But if they're not, I'll just be like, now you're just whining, because it's always, this thing inconvenienced me, therefore it's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it inconvenienced you. I'm sorry. You know how many times I've been inconvenienced, but it's not about you. It's about the total.
Yeah.
They're trying to deal with everyone. So deal with it. It was a good weekend. I was pleasantly surprised until I came home Saturday night and had to watch my football team lose in heartbreaking fashion. So
we can't control. I can't control that.
No, you can't.
Dan Farr can't control that.
Dan Farr cannot control that either. And I'm not implying that it's his fault. It just it was a pretty good day, and I got home, and then that happened, and I was a crappy way to end my weekend. So but on the other hand, tomorrow
that's what you get. That's what you get for liking sports.
That's true. That's what I get for liking sports ball. I don't know when
I can't say anything. I'm a Yankees fan in baseball, so they had a really good weekend for the most part. But
that's
anyway.
I will hopefully get this up in the next day or so. But before we go, what do you have on tap? Where are you traveling to next?
I'm I am down time for October, so
Ooh.
I will be going to San Francisco and Minneapolis in November. But at the moment, yeah, I mean, obviously the big thing, and I'm currently not on it, is the New York Comic Con.
Right.
But I think,
That's 2 weeks from now, I think.
yeah, I think October cons kind of get taken over by haunted houses and
Yeah, good point.
that sort of stuff. So,
If you're into that thing.
if you're into that stuff,
If you're
but
into that stuff. Ah, well, that's cool. Then we have some movies this week. So
yes, we have, I think,
Training Wheels, 3,
at
and then
least.
2 next week, and then 2 the week after that.
Yeah.
So up to and including Tron.
And I might have to do some catch up. So we'll see.
Yeah, there you go.
A couple of things I want to see and whatnot. But yeah,
Yeah,
I just look, if you haven't come out to Salt Lake for FanX, it is certainly becoming more and more of I think an experience that deserves attention outside of the state.
100%.
So
100%.
you know,
And even the
next
celebrities believe that.
next year is going to be interesting though, because there may be major remodeling to the Salt Palace.
Yes.
So there, I know that there's a lot of question about what exactly next year is going to look like, and we shall see. We shall see.
We shall see. We may have to do an abbreviated one.
Yeah, it's hard. It's
other
hard to
place.
know. Yeah, it's hard to know. You know, and
Yeah,
unfortunately, this is the first year where I haven't had a conversation with Dan afterwards. So hopefully, I'll be able to do that in the next few days. Just say thanks, actually, because I never thought that I would be sitting across from Danny Elfman for 50 minutes, and I mean, it never occurred to me, quite honestly,
Yeah,
that
like I said,
he
I knew
would
you
come.
wanted it. So as soon as they said anything, I threw your name for those guys.
Well, I think everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of us wanted it. So
Mhm.
I feel incredibly blessed to have had the opportunity. So thank you to FanX, Ryan Call, Dan Farr, everybody involved.
And your boss for letting you take an hour out of your busy actual work day.
Yes, thank you, everybody.
So there you go. So yes, so that was our weekend at FanX. We got movies coming up, as you just heard, which we will be watching and talking about at our earliest possible convenience. But until we do, don't forget to like us, follow us on social media, go to the website, vsmoviepodcast.com. That'll get you links to most of the stuff and most of the websites. But wherever you listen to us, be it whether you're an iTunes, a Spotify, an iHeart person, we should be there. Just search for Visually Stunning Movie Podcast, and that's where we'll be. So let us know what you think. Till we talk to you again, be good, stay safe, go see a good movie in theaters. I'm Mark. That's Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
Goodbye, everybody.
And we will talk to you all later.